Okay, hello students. My name is Jim Griever and I will be your instructor for this online course, and I will be creating some videos like this now and then to help guide you through the class. So this first one is one that is just basically to introduce myself and also to go over the syllabus a little bit and to go over the eCampus. So this first one might be a little bit longer than some of them, but make sure you watch the whole thing so that you can see how to do everything, and that way if you have any questions or anything you can email them to me or put them on the discussion board or something like that and we can all talk about it. Okay, so let's get right to it. The You'll notice here on the screen here you'll see that we have the eCampus up here, and this is what yours should look like when you go to it, or at least something like this when you go into our English class. So it should look like this. Have this number here, which is English 101-7D as in dog 8, and that's the right class. Excuse me. So when you get in there, click on the first thing there and you'll see, of course, the main page. That's what you come to where you normally land, and hopefully you've already received this, the welcome and the syllabus information. Okay, so that I sent to you by email on yesterday. So hopefully you've received that and you've already got an idea of what this looks like. So now let's actually take a look. First of all, I want to show you a few things, what you basically will be needing to full width. And let me check something. Sorry, I want to make sure. Am I working here? Yeah, I want to make sure my mic is working. Okay, so see, the syllabus is under here where it says syllabus, obviously. All right, just click on that and then just click on the syllabus and it'll bring it up in a separate, I think it brings up in a separate thing, but that's okay. Announcements, you need to make sure that you check very frequently this page, this online site. Do it quite frequently, a few times a day. Check it in the morning, check it in the afternoon. You should definitely be checking this quite frequently during the day, because if I need to tell you guys something, I will tell you through the announcements here. So you will get an announcement. Of course, you'll get it by email too, so you'll be able to know that you have an announcement to look at. But check that now and then, check your emails, and just be sure and keep up with that. Under this tab here, the lessons tab, that's where you will go to see the different lessons that you can work on. As of right now, the only lessons you can see are the narrative and the general information materials. And I may add to these things later, but this class is set up so that you only see these things as you complete the previous thing. So you won't see the second paper until you've completed the first one, the narrative. Okay, so be aware of that. That way you can't jump ahead and get too far ahead, because sometimes people like to get too far ahead and then they discover that they did something wrong and they have to redo it. So this way we'll keep everybody on task, everybody on the same schedule. Okay, so if you go into here, you'll see a couple things that are useful. Quote, paraphrase, and summarizing properly. That's a website that tells you how to do those things properly. You will definitely want to look that over, especially when you get to the point where you're the second paper where you're profiling somebody and you're having to quote them and such. The second thing here is the ethos, logos, and pathos PowerPoint. That information will help you when we start talking about those things. Those are called rhetorical strategies. And so when we get to talk about rhetorical strategies, you'll want to take a look at this, and we may even look at it together on a video. Okay, so that's the first lesson. That's what you want to worry about right now, starting Monday, or if you want to, of course, you can do it over the weekend. The other thing that you will be having to concern yourself with is the journaling. Right here, you'll want to go in here and you will want to do a private journal with me, and all you have to do is just go in here and click on journal, and then you'll just create a journal entry, and I will be the only person to be able to see that. So you don't have to worry about it being shared with anybody. You can say whatever you want to say in that, but that is just a private discussion between you and myself. Okay, so that's the journaling. And then the other thing, of course, will be the discussion board. Now, the discussion board, as you can see, it has the different things that we're going to be going through, and as we do each one, we'll discuss. You'll have one thing to discuss throughout the week. The first thing that you're going to do is the discussion introduction, where I want you to go in. I want you to introduce yourself to each other and to me. Talk a little bit about these things here. Where are you from? What are you studying? Or if you're not sure what you're studying, what do you think you might like to consider studying? Why are you interested in that field? What makes you want to do that profession? And then tell us some interesting stuff about yourself. Of course, let's make it keep it G-rated, right? And don't say there's nothing interesting about me. Everybody has something about them that's interesting. Okay, so go ahead and do this first, and do that right away. You could do it now. You could do it tomorrow. You could even do it on Monday. But you want to do that right away so we can all introduce each other and meet each other. This is the only one where you won't have to do like comments unless you want to. You won't be required to comment on each other's posts necessarily. You can just read them, but obviously you can discuss, you can comment on their posts and stuff. It just won't necessarily count against you if you don't. This first one doesn't count for you or against you. It's just to be done. Okay. The other one that you need to do for sure on Monday or this coming week is the narrative discussion, and you'll want to discuss what it tells you right here to do. Now that is for week 1, so that will be due, as you'll see when we talk about the syllabus, that is due on Wednesday. Your initial post will always be due on Wednesday by midnight of each week. And then your comments on other people's posts, which you should comment, try to comment on everybody's post, because there's only like 15 or 16 of you in the class, so it shouldn't be hard to go through and give a comment, a nice comment to each and every person. And that will be due by Friday midnight of each week. Okay, so we'll talk about that again when we get to looking at the syllabus. Finally, the My Grades thing, of course, is where you will see your grades, where you'll be able to keep up with your things that you're doing, the grading. Some of these things, as you see right now, are probably not going to necessarily be the accurate. Some of these might be different because some of them say test. We're not going to necessarily have tests or quizzes, so this stuff will all probably change as we go along. So don't worry about that. What it says right now, don't go by that, because it will all be different. Probably all be different. These tests will not happen. Okay, so you don't have to worry about that. I might even go through and take all that stuff off so you don't have to worry about it. Okay, there is the tools down here. If you look on the tools page, you will see some things that could possibly be helpful for you. You go down through here and you can see calendar, blogs, different things like that. So you can go through down there and see if any of this stuff is helpful to you. Here's a glossary, some wikis. So that's just the tools. You may never even have to fool with that. Calendar might not be a bad thing to look at now and then, because it's going to have, like, here's the narrative discussion forum due date. So this is going to remind you of when some things are due. But not necessarily everything. You won't necessarily find everything that's due on this calendar. I don't really fool with the calendar, so the only thing that's going to pop up on the calendar is stuff that automatically pops up on it, like these narratives. I didn't put that on there. It just automatically came up on there when I created that discussion forum. So you may not necessarily see everything on this calendar, but you might see some things. Okay? So, now, what did I want to... Okay, so next thing, let's take a look at the syllabus. So that's pretty much all you have to worry about on here, is these first few things, down to grades mostly. Let's take a look at the syllabus. I'm just going to go through it kind of quick, because you can read, you're big boys and girls, I'm sure. And so let me expand this up here so I can see it. My eyesight's not what it used to be. And so here you can see my email address. My office at Colson Hall on campus is 243. The only way that you would need to meet me there is if you actually live somewhere nearby and wanted to meet with me in person. we could meet in my actual office by appointment. We'd have to schedule that by email or something and set that up. I do have Skype, which this is my Skype address, and I also am on Google Hangouts, so you could use the Mix email to get to me on Google Hangouts. So anytime you want to talk to me, like especially for the conferences, we will use these for the conferences, and you can just conference me. We can conference together over Skype or Google Hangouts or something like that. Okay. Office hours. My actual office hours will be on Mondays and Wednesdays. Excuse me. I need to get something to drink here in a second. Monday and Wednesdays from 2 p.m. to 3 p.m. is my office hours, and that's basically the time that you will be able to use Skype or Google Hangouts or even email me and know that I'm going to get your message right away because I will be there waiting for them. Okay? So Monday and Wednesday from 2 to 3 is when I will be available waiting for you to contact me through one of these three means: Skype, Google Hangouts, or email. Now, if you need to, if that time doesn't work for you for some reason, then the only other way would be by email or maybe by an appointment. Okay, so we can email and discuss that. Okay, so the required text. Now, the work in progress is the required text for this, but they have now made that available online. So if you have not already purchased that, you might want to look at getting it online so that you can actually much more easily share the pages of the online book with me and with each other. Okay, so the digital version would be a really good thing to get if you can. It's $26 something, I think, $26. I don't know if that's more or less expensive than the work in progress hard copy. If you've already got the hard copy, you might be able to take it back. I don't know if they'll take it back or not now and get the digital version. But I would highly suggest you get the digital version just because it'll be a lot easier for you to work on it and then share it on here. Okay, the other book that you have to have is the Andrea Lunsford is the author of it. It's the Easy Writer, 5th edition. You will be doing assignments out of it too, so you need to have both of these books. Okay, obviously you have to have online access to the internet throughout the course, and you should have availability of Microsoft Word, PowerPoint, things like that. Okay, everything that you send to me has to be in DocX, or as a last resort. I prefer it to be DocX, but as a very last resort, if you can't get anything else to work, then you can do the RTF, the rich text format. Okay, I'll let you read these other things on your own, some of these things that are about how we work and stuff. Now this is going to be a, let me see where it talks about this. This is going to be a thematic class. So right here is the theme. Historical relevance is going to be the theme of this class. So you want to remember that everything that you do in this class, during this course, everything should have to do with historical relevance. Now you might be wondering, well, what does that mean? Well, historical relevance is this, and you might want to write this down just so you know. Historical relevance just means how does it relate to you in this present time as compared to how it might have related to somebody 50, 60, 80, 100 years ago, right? So in other words, if you're writing about something like, let's say you decide to do something in the lines of sexism and the way women are treated versus men or something like that, you might look at, you would want to do your writing in such a way that kind of considers how sexism is now in your time as compared to how it was maybe for your grandparents or your parents, something like that, right? So that's historical relevance. You can always look that up and find more information about what that means and what it relates to and everything. Okay, so that's the theme of the class. Here you just have some more general information you can read on your own. This is more information about the office hours. Just take a look at that. Make sure. Now do note that I do not check emails after 5 p.m. on weekdays, and I don't check emails at all on weekends, at least not with any specific intent. I won't say that I would never check them. I might happen to check them after 5, and I might happen to check them on weekends. The point is, don't rely on that. Don't send me an email on a Wednesday at 8 o'clock in the evening expecting me to answer by 10. that evening. It's probably not going to happen, or it might, but it's probably not going to. So don't do that, with the intent or expectation of getting an answer back right away. I check my emails frequently throughout the day, but I won't be checking the class emails, this course emails, after 5 or on weekends with any regularity. In other words, it's possible I might happen to check it, but don't rely on it. Okay. And also, I do not review papers. I will not review papers via email beyond the regular feedback cycle. So don't just send me papers and say, hey, can you look this over? I won't be doing it that way. You need to turn it in. When you turn your initial paper in, that's when you're going to get feedback on it, and then that's when you're going to have a chance to rewrite it. So we'll talk about that here in a second when we talk about how the portfolio system works. Okay. Interacting with me, of course, you can read that yourself. Just be sure you're professional about things. All right. Attendance. It is an online course, but it does have attendance requirements, and you're expected to attend. And what attendance means in this case is to visit or interact with the class, with the course site, with the discussion boards, things like that, with the journaling to me privately, all that stuff. You're expected to do that at least 4 days a week. And the site allows me to know when you are checking it, when you're logging on, getting onto the site and doing these things. So I will be able to see how many times each and every one of you has checked in, so to speak, has attended to the class. Okay. So take notes of this information. Late work is not accepted. Late work, especially, I don't accept late discussion board assignments. If you didn't do the discussion during the week it was due, then you've just missed out on it. You've got to do it during that week. And again, as I mentioned already, the initial post, your initial discussion post, is due by Wednesday nights at midnight of any given week, and then your responses to other people's posts are due by the Friday at midnight of every week. Okay. Note here that you will, if you do happen to turn something in late, like exploratory writings, if you turn something in late, then those things they won't be accepted unless you have an excuse, like if you have a very legitimate doctor's note or something that you can pass on to me to show you had a good reason for missing it. Then I will accept it late, but it will not count otherwise. You can't just get it not turned in on time and expect me to take it or anything. I'm not going to accept it. I don't even do this letter grade penalty. Don't even worry about that. I probably should have deleted that off of there or rewrote it. I didn't notice it. I wasn't thinking about that. But typically I just won't take it late. The only way that I would take something late, especially in the formal papers, is if you talk to me ahead of time and tell me something's going on, something's causing you to be late, and you discuss it with me. Communication is always key. All right. So if you communicate to me ahead of time, then I might be able to work with you on turning something in a little bit late. Otherwise, no, don't do it, because I won't accept it. Okay? You will not get an incomplete. I've never done an incomplete for anybody as long as I've been at WVU, and I doubt if I will. So don't ever count on some kind of an incomplete that you might be able to get because you didn't get your work done. That's not going to happen. Be careful of your net etiquette. In other words, the way you act, the way you treat each other, the way you act and treat toward me, respect and all that stuff is what you want to read about here for net etiquette. Conferences, we will have 2 conferences throughout this 6 weeks. During that scheduled time, we can either meet in person. Like I said, if you live locally, we could meet at my office if you wanted to do that, or we could talk over the phone, or we could do the video chat, or we could do instant message. So many different ways we can do that conference. It'll just, when we get to the first conference, we will just talk about that in the discussion board maybe, or something like that. When we meet for the conference, you should plan on having at least one question that you are working on or about your current project, and at least 1 or 2 pages of your essay completed. Okay? And those 2 things you should be able to show me by emailing them to me or by showing them on the screen. If you're doing like a Skype, you can just show it to me. But you want to make sure that you have that stuff. Okay, so here's the biggie. This is the portfolio system, and I'm just going to touch on this real quickly because you can read what it says here. But the portfolio system means you do not receive any grades, letter grades or anything, percentage grades or anything until the very end of the semester. At midterm, you will receive a grade, letter grade telling you approximately where you're at that midterm point, and then you'll receive a letter grade at the very end. You'll never receive a percentage grade. The letter grades are the letter grades, of course, is the typical A through F. And here's how that breaks down. 70% of your overall grade will be based on the portfolio itself and how well you've put it together and how good your formal writings are. And the exploratory writing is 20% of your grade, and that's all the things that you will be doing in the way of exercises, peer reviews, everything that's not the formal essay. Everything that's not the actual essay itself will be exploratory writing. And then your participation will simply be based on how often you visit the site, whether or not you complete the informal exercises, do the discussion boards, in other words, and the journaling and stuff like that. Okay? So those things will all be come together to form your 100% of your grade. Don't take these smaller ones for granted. Don't take them lightly, because those 10% and 20% add up very quickly to hurt your grade if you're not careful with them. Okay, so don't think, well, it's only 10%, so if I don't ever show up and don't ever do these things, it's not going to be that big a deal. It will be, because if you lose 10 points, that's automatically a 90, and then that means you would have to do perfect on everything else to get something, to still get an A. So don't take that for granted. This is the information about the discussion board and how the journaling and stuff's going to work. I'm not going to read all this. Again, you can read this and understand it, but it works on a point system. So just look this over and understand this good, and if you don't understand anything, make sure you let me know. Social justice, you can read that on your own. Academic integrity, just don't cheat. That's what that boils down to. Resources, you have at the campus, you do have online writing studio. If you're nearby, you can go to G2 Colson Hall to get information, get help with writing, or you might, I don't know if you can write to them and get information over they might be able to send you information over email or whatever to help you, but I'm not real sure about that. And then finally, you'll see the schedule of work. Notice that it says here, this is important, the schedule of work below is subject to changes based on our progress. My final portfolios will be returned via eCampus. Note that I will release the work for each course only a few days ahead of time to keep everybody at the same schedule. Also note that the columns below are not according to days of week. So don't think this is what you got to do on Monday, this is what I got to do on Tuesday, this is what I got to do on Wednesday. It's not set up that way. This is just simply the different things that you need to do throughout the week. So you can do it at your own pace, but like I said here, work smart. Okay? Don't cram it all in on Friday and expect to get it all done and good. That's working smart. That's working hard and not very smart. Do a little bit today, a little bit this day, a little bit this day, and that's working smart. Pacing yourself, getting a little bit done each day. Okay? Work smart, not hard. As you can see here, this is how it's set up. Week 1 shows you all the topics we'll be looking at. The different readings you'll have is separately columned here. The non-graded stuff, which is going to be your journals, it will be here, and the discussion board here. You also will have a couple plagiarism quizzes, which you'll see what that means when the time comes, when we actually have them. So don't fret over that. They're not really even quizzes, as far as that. All you got to do is do them. If you do them, you get credit. If you don't do them, you don't get credit. So it's hardly even really worth calling it a quiz. It's just to help you understand what plagiarism is and how to avoid it. So those will happen a couple times, but every day you will have a writing journal, and it'll be something like this. In this case, the first writing journal, you're going to ask questions, if you have any, in the journal, and then you're going to tell me, a narrative brainstorm, you're going to tell me what are some things that you could do. In other words, you're going to kind of show me on your journal what you're thinking as you try to decide what narrative to write about, how to write about it, and what you want to say and do in it, or what event you want to write about, and things like that. Okay, now this is all discussed in the book. everything that you want to know about what to do and how to do it is all in these pages right here. Okay, so just read your assignment. As you will see in the information that we didn't really look at above, it is your responsibility to read and understand to the best of your ability the things that you are supposed to do in this class. You can email me questions if you have them, but not until you've actually put the questions on the discussion board first. If you put the questions on the discussion board and nobody else on there can answer the question, and then I'll probably come on there and answer it myself. So the chances of you needing to email me a question are probably not real likely, because you're going to have the chance every week to have questions with me on the journaling, and you're also going to be able to obviously allowed to discuss any questions you have on the discussion board so that other people can answer them too. So, but your question time for me is going to be during your journaling, so you shouldn't really need to email me much at all, unless it's something different, something altogether unusual, and you feel like you need to do the email instead of the questioning on your journaling. But most every question you have, you should be able to do it right here during your journaling every week. And possibly, like I said, if you want to bring a question up for your discussion board, so to see what everybody else thinks about it, you can do that too. And then the final level thing here is your writing assignments. This tells you the exploratory writing is the assignments that are in the work in progress book, and the formal writing is the essays themselves, including the memo that comes with each essay. Okay, we'll talk more about that in another video perhaps, but right now I just wanted to give you an introductory video, and that's basically all we need to go over right now, because the rest of this is just the same thing. The only other thing is another note down here at the bottom that the syllabus is fluid, meaning that I will probably be adding things and possibly even subtracting things as we go through the course. So don't try to get ahead, even though you can't really get ahead. Don't try to look on the syllabus and think, oh, well, I can do this on my own, and then you end up doing it wrong. Okay, so that's the end of the initial video. If you have any questions or anything, then you can ask those questions by email now, since we haven't gotten to the point where we could do a journal yet. Or if you want to do your first journal, you could always do that right away and ask me questions in that. Okay, so I will talk to you later, and you have a good one, and God bless you.